Learn how to borrow money from your investment accounts, in particular, a laser fund. That's what I use. I borrow money using that as collateral from the insurance company so that I continue to earn a compounded rate of return tax-free, greater, sometimes double or triple, the net cost of borrowing from the insurance company. This is a dynamic concept. This is what savvy, wealthy people understand, is how to become their own banker. So get ready if you want to understand the exponential growth of accumulating wealth by harnessing the marvels of wealth accumulation with compound interest, tax-free accumulation, and safe positive leverage. Keep watching. So I'm Doug Andrew. I've been a financial strategist and retirement planning specialist now for 5 decades, helping thousands of Americans optimize assets and minimize tax. Many of these people are business owners, they're real estate investors, and generally they learn how money works. Sometimes I have to teach them some strategies, point out some things maybe they're not doing right. For example, sometimes people will come to me and they own real estate properties, for example, rental properties or whatever, maybe even their own home, and they want to pay them off, and they think the fastest way to do that is by sending extra principal payments from their positive cash flow to the mortgage company, and then they get into trouble. A lot of commercial real estate landlords got into trouble after COVID-19 because commercial real estate, when the demand for it went down, when half of employees actually were as productive or more productive working from home. And so the demand for a brick and mortar office location was cut in half after COVID-19. Commercial real estate plummeted. Well, those landlords who did that learned the lesson the hard way, just like those in 2008 who had all this equity in their properties and they lost it in foreclosure, even though they had been paying all this extra money. Whereas the savvy ones, like my landlord in my office buildings, he has always praised me because of my strategies, but he always keeps his real estate properties, his commercial buildings mortgaged to the hilt. And he keeps his money liquid and safe, but he earns a rate of return that is usually double, triple, or more than the net cost of borrowing. He would actually be costing himself money if he sent extra principal payments against the mortgage. The real estate is going to do whatever it does. It's going to go up in value or go down in value, which real estate does, okay, during the ebbs and flows of the real estate market. But he doesn't worry about that. I don't either, because my money is not tied up in it. It's going to do whatever it does. But I give it the ability to earn a rate of return so that I have safety of principal, I have liquidity, and I'm earning a rate of return that's double or triple or higher the net cost of borrowing the money. And this creates wealth, and I do it for the tax advantages. So let's just talk for a moment about how to borrow money from your own investment accounts. And a lot of people, you can go to your brokerage firm and you can borrow money using the assets there as collateral. You can do that. But I like to do that inside of my favorite financial vehicle that I put my serious cash for liquidity, safety, predictable rates of return for long-term goals such as retirement, but also for college funding for children, grandchildren, working capital for your business, real estate management, and so forth. This is where I keep my money liquid and safe. What is it? It's a max-funded indexed universal life insurance contract that's structured correctly and funded properly. If it is, you'll be able to earn a rate of return if you diversify and rebalance, usually based on actual history, in excess of 10%. If you don't diversify and rebalance, you'll probably earn an average of around 8% and net 7%. I've usually earned around 11.17 average since 1997. Since 1980, 9.62. And I net within 1% of that. If I earn 11, I net 10, okay? So I can earn a 10% rate of return. Let's just whittle that down to 9% for the sake of the math I'm going to do here for you. So if I know that I can earn compound interest tax-free 9%, okay, That means on $1 million, I'm going to earn the first year 90 grand, and then it's going to be $1,090,000. It's going to compound. Now, if I let that investment account alone and I let it compound, then it's going to grow substantially, because at 9%, 9 into the rule of 72, at 9.6, my money is going to double every 7.5 years. 9 into 72 means I'm going to double every 8 years. Now, my money doubles tax-free, and so $1 million will double to $2 million, to $4 million, to $8 million, and so forth, if I leave it alone. So this is one of the big reasons that a lot of people need to understand. If I was going to be buying some kind of an asset to borrow to acquire real estate or machinery, I don't use my money because I give up the opportunity to earn a rate of return. That's called an opportunity cost. I'm giving up the opportunity to earn 9%. I could be earning 90 grand on that million. Does that make sense? So I leave it there compounding at 9%, and I borrow from the financial institution. Who's that? Who is the financial institution? What is it that houses the insurance policy? That's an insurance company. The multi-trillion-dollar insurance industry is the backbone of America and the backbone of the world. So I go to the insurance company and they'll loan me money based upon the collateral of my cash value in the policy. Now, if you were to go to a bank and borrow $1 million and you had $1 million on deposit at the bank would gladly loan you $1 million and tie up that as collateral. But with a bank, they'll probably charge you, 6, 7, or 8% interest maybe, and they're only going to pay you 3 or 4%. You're not going to come out ahead. With an insurance company, it's the opposite. For now 5 decades, I've always been able to borrow from an insurance company at a rate of return that's half or less than what I'm earning in compound interest. So why would I use my money? I would be giving up the opportunity to earn a rate of return of 9%, 90 grand on $1 million. Instead, I have 2 choices. I can borrow $1 million from the insurance company. I don't have to fill out loan applications and qualify. If I have the money, they'll loan me the money because they have the collateral, okay? Why would I do that? Because they're going to continue to credit compounded rates of return on the money that I didn't withdraw that's collateralizing the loan. Now, if I'm super conservative, they'll loan me $1 million, let's say, at 2% interest, and then they'll credit me 2%. Now, you want them to charge you interest because then it's a true loan and it's tax-free. And so they know that you're going to take out that money tax-free, but it would be smarter to borrow rather than withdraw because they're charging you 2%, 20 grand on $1 million, but they're going to credit you 2% on the million that's collateralizing the loan. That's called a zero net cost loan, but you're doing that so that you'll be grandfathered to be able to pay the loan back if you want. You don't have to, but you have the ability to keep the account grandfathered at the maximum amount. That's something I explain in the book I want to gift you at the end of this episode. But what I do and what most of my savvy business owning clients do is they use the index loan option. This is where you're borrowing money from your IUL policy and you're borrowing a little bit higher rate, but then they'll credit you whatever the index rate is, which is generally going to be higher on the average than the borrowing rate. So generally with the insurance companies that I use, they'll charge me 4% or 5% interest. Let's take the highest one, let's say 5%. So if I borrow $1 million out of my policy and I say, I want you to charge me 5%, not 2%, it's because if I am charged 2, they're only going to credit me 2. But if they can charge me 5%, that's 50 grand on my million for the year. I don't have to write out a check. It'll just be deducted from the interest. It's because generally I've earned a rate of return of 7.5% to 8% greater than the net cost of the funds if I don't even rebalance or diversify. But if I do, as I've said, I usually earn 11 and net 10. How much more is 10 than 5? Don't say 5, it's 100% more. So if I borrow $1 million out of my policy, it's actually borrowing from the insurance company and my money stays in the policy, collateralizing the loan from the insurance company. They're going to charge 5% or $50,000 and they're going to credit me that year, let's say 10%, that's $100,000. So let me put it this way. Would you hire an employee for 50 grand that made you an extra 100 grand? Would you buy a widget machine for 50 grand that made you an extra 100 grand? That's a 200% rate of return on equipment cost or employment cost. You're making double the net cost of the funds. Does that make sense? Well, there are some years where I have borrowed at 5% and earned 25%. I had a business owning client that did that in 2017. He called me and said, Doug, I need $1 million from my policy, but he says, I want to borrow it because he's savvy. He's done this many times. He says, send me the form. So I emailed him the form. It's one page. He puts his name and his policy number, which is like an account number, okay? And it says, do you want to withdraw $1 million or do you want to borrow $1 million? He checks, borrow. He understands how money works. And then it says, do you want to borrow at a 2% and be credited to a zero wash loan? No. Or do you want to borrow with an index loan? That's the one he checks. That's what I do. So in 2017, when he did that, he borrowed at 5% on $1 million. That's 50 grand. And that year, he got credited 25% on the $1 million of cash value that still was in the policy collateralizing the loan. That's 250 grand. He made 250,000 minus 50. He netted 20% or 200,000 tax-free on his $1 million, while he was technically using it to make $3 million, buying a strip mall and fixing it up and flipping it. This is incredible when you understand how this works. So the concept is borrowing money from your own investment accounts, and I would recommend doing it the smart way with an investment account like the Laser Fund, where you're going to earn a rate of return of 2%, spread, or even double, 100% more than the net cost of borrowing. You borrow at 4 or 5, you earn, 8 or 10, you're making 100% more than the cost of the funds. And that is what I mean by becoming your own banker. That's what banks do. Banks pay you interest, not because they're a benevolent institution. They pay interest because they're going to make more than what they're paying you. And they make 100% returns all day long. They pay 4% interest. They turn around and loan you money at 8%. And they have overhead costs and what have you, but they make millions and billions of dollars doing this. You can do the same thing. This is how to use what we call the laser bank, and also fund what we call the cash fund. That's spelled with a K. That's actually knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits. So in this episode, I want you to grasp what this power is of compounding and using safe, positive leverage and the ability to own and control assets with very little or none of your money tied up or at risk in that asset. This is taught in my book, The Laser Fund. This is 300 pages, charts, graphs, explanations, actually 2 books in one. This side is for the left brain learner. If you're more of a right brain learner, you flip it over to this one. And this is about 100 pages, 12 chapters with 62, chicken soup for the financial soul stories. You can use your whole brain and read both of these books, but it retails on Amazon for $20 plus shipping. I'll gift you a copy free. You simply go to laserfund.com or click on the link below. You contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I require some skin in the game. And I'll cover the rest of that cost and I'll pay for the book. And I'll fire out a hard copy to you via priority mail. Now, when you're in there claiming your free copy of this book, if you like to listen and learn or watch and learn, there's options there for audio and video formats. You can check out some of the educational webinars that we teach on a regular basis. They're free. You can even schedule an appointment to meet with an IUL specialist over the GoToMeeting or Zoom call, and they will illustrate for you how this may work in your particular set of circumstances with no cost or obligation. I oversee these specialists. Out of 5,000 I've trained, these are the creme de la creme. So take advantage of this opportunity so that you do not miss out on earning rates of return many times of 100, 200, 300, 500% more than the net cost of using the money from the insurance company, using the cash value in your policy as collateral.